and welcome to Family Tree Recipe. This is the show that spotlights family recipes from all over the globe. This season, we've taken the show to another level. Not only are we featuring delicious family recipes, we're pairing those savory dishes with exquisite wines. Our wine curator, Lindsay DeVore, will give us some insightful wine pairing tips on how to make those recipes even more delicious. We will also let you know how you can host a wine tasting featuring your own family recipe. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Now let's join our host, Kathy Garver.
Our Family Tree Recipe guest today is Janet Maxwell. Janet, come on in. I see you've already started. Here's an onion and some potatoes.
I have.
What are you making for us today?
So I'm making a traditional Irish meal, which is called shepherd's pie.
Sure. You're not a little Irish with your green, are you?
Oh, I'm a wee bit Irish,
Yes.
Don't you know?
I can tell it there. And
Yes.
so did this come up through your family heritage?
It did. My great-grandparents came over from Ireland, and this recipe has been passed along. When my mother married my father, my grandmother made sure she taught my mother how to make my father's favorite meal. It's now my favorite meal. I make it for my own family.
And it is?
Shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie. Now, I always thought that shepherd's pie was English.
It's actually Irish.
Well, because when I've been to England and I said, well, I'll have some shepherd's pie.
Yes.
Now you've set me straight, Janet.
Well, perhaps we shared this dish across the lands. I'm
Yes.
not sure, but this is definitely passed down from my great-grandparents. So
Excellent.
I wanted to share it with you guys today.
Well, thank you very much. I'm
Sure.
looking forward to having a taste of it, and I'll leave you to this kitchen and come back.
Thank you. All right, let's begin. I started some onions and I went ahead and browned the meat and the carrots. I added a gravy to the mix. So there's peas and carrots and beef, as well as a little bit of onion that I've pre-chopped using the chopper here. And then to top it off, we're gonna do the mashed potatoes, but first we're gonna line the bottom of this actual stone crockery. And once we have this bottom layer complete, we mix it and we try to flatten it out because the potatoes have to lay flat onto the actual meal. Based on that, mash the potatoes with this amazing tool. And then what you're going to want to do is flatten it out as you enter it into the crockery. Here is the completed dish, and you can see from the sides the layers that were taken in the preparation. And I use the chopper for the set parsley, and then we just sprinkle the parsley over top after it comes out of the oven. And that is shepherd's pie.
Something smells awfully good.
It must be the shepherd's pie.
Oh my gosh, all that from the chopped onions to that.
the
That
finished
looks
product.
absolutely fabulous. Well, our wine ambassador, we call her a wine curator today. Lindsay DeVore is going to have fun with that, picking out wonderful pairings of wine. And we'll take this over and maybe we'll dish it up first. But before that, you can go see Chef Rowdy, who's going to give you another wonderful kitchen tip.
Hello, I'm Chef Roddy, bringing you some tips from my kitchen to yours. We're going to talk a little bit about onions. You see many different types of onions in the supermarket: white onions, yellow onions, red onions, other things that aren't really onions, but in the onion family. We have a shallot. You might see other sweet onions. Depending upon what you're going to be making is the onion that you're going to want to choose for the particular application. We're not really getting into the pairings right now. What I'm going to show you is onion safety and how to make some nice cuts for yourself. First of all, the question is always, how don't I cry when I do an onion? Please don't run it under the water as you're cutting it. Not very safe. Plus you're washing away flavor. You can always keep them in the refrigerator. If you don't normally keep them in the refrigerator, you can put them in the night before. That helps to solidify the little milky solids that are inside of that onion so that it doesn't evaporate as quickly up into your eyes. If you're wearing glasses, it's going to get trapped under there and make it more effective on your eyes as well. So I always try to find a spot where my onion doesn't want to roll around naturally and cut it in half. And you can see this is the part that's above the ground, and then we have the roots that are under the ground. There's very little waste on an onion. A lot of times people will cut the whole top and bottom off, and then there's a lot of waste. All we need to do is snip a little bit of the growing end that comes out. And then what I do is make a little V notch in the root side and take that out. And aside from the skin, that really is the only waste that we have in an onion. So after we peel it, keeping your board nice and clean because we don't want any of those peels inside of any of the cuts that you're going to make. First one I'm going to show you, you can see a natural contour. The onion has seams, if you will, that roll down it. We use that as a blueprint in the culinary school. So I use my knife right on that. That's going to allow me to cut julienne slices. So if you're making fajitas or a nice salad or what have you, notice I'm keeping my fingers bent, always about safety, not putting them straight out. That's a julienne slice. And then I move it nice and safely with my bench scrape to keep myself safe without using my knife. And then the last cut is just going to be slices which we can then turn into dice. Same way, taking off the top and the bottom, very little waste. Then I come in, finish up my peeling, taking off the first outer layer. This can go into a chicken stock later or to make some type of a beef broth. Always cleaning up my board. No root ends on the cutting board. Then I'm going to make half slices, obviously, because it's cut in half. I can use these as slices for a sandwich, whatever you like. Or I can then come in and turn them into dice. So coming right back over the top way that I showed you, following the blueprint of the onion, allows me to make dice for a chicken noodle soup or a pico de gallo or what have you. For this application, I am going to use a apparatus called the spiralizer. So I'm going to show you a little bit about cleaning. This is the growing end, this is the root end. There's root ends on the bottom, so it grows out of the top. So I refer to that when I'm making my cuts. I just want to take a little bit off of the top. A lot of times people will actually take the whole very top of it off. You might need to go a little bit farther, but we don't want to waste very much of it. I want to make sure that all of the paper is off. This is pretty clean, but for how I'm doing it, I want to make sure that all of this loose material, less solid I should say, is actually off of the outside. And I also always like to clean up the root end of it. Just getting rid of those roots, that way there's no chance of them being introduced into the cuts that you're going to make. So now with a clean cutting board, making sure that everything is off of the cutting board, no root ends or any peel or anything going around, I'm going to bring in my machine called the spiralizer. Very easy. It's like an Asian spiral cutter. Allows me to put in my whole onion, setting it down on the center, dropping it down. I really like this design because it feeds down and uses gravity as opposed to a traditional one that we use in the kitchen. It feeds to the side. So then all I do is simply use gravity and the strings are going to go out the bottom. Had it twisted the other way, and then you can see we have nice spiral slices that we can use to make fried onion chips, use for a garnish, whatever you're going to be making.
If you see something you like, at any time you can click on any of the cookery products and be taken to a site for purchase or for more information.
And then we can even come in, if these are too long for you, sometimes they're a little much to deal with, you can come in, string them out, and just cut them down into segments and portions. There's a couple of more tips from Chef Roddy from my kitchen to yours. Thank you very much.
Drew and Tracy here to remind you to watch Family Tree Recipe on your smartphone.
Or any mobile device. Just text the words on your screen to 95577.
The new episodes will come to you automatically.
Remember, 95577.
Bon appetit.
Hello, I'm Rose Deming. I'd like to show you a food chopper today. This is going to save you money and time so that you can spend that time with your family and friends at the table. The way it works is it's got these blades that rotate a quarter turn each time you press it. And on our cutting board, these blades will actually stay sharp along with anything that you cut because it's high density. So you just add whatever you'd like and chop. Isn't that amazing? I'm so excited. This is such a good thing to have in a kitchen. And it just chops all evenly too.
If you see something you like, at any time you can click on any of the cookery products and be taken to a site for purchase or for more information.
So, How many of these would you like? It's wonderful. Now, to clean this, even if you had onions or, for potato salad, you can just line up your pickles, celery, potatoes. You just take your collar off and take the food guard down and you open it up and you put it in your dishwasher. So how easy is that? It does save a lot of time. I use it every day and I think you would love it if you give it a try. Thank you very much.
Janet, this is such a fabulous, hearty, wonderful meal that you have made. Lindsay, what wine choices have you selected that would complement this?
Well, there's so many flavors going on here that we've got 3 very different wines. We have a blend of different Chardonnays from different counties, from Sonoma, from Mendocino, and from Monterey counties. There's actually some notes of white pepper and nutmeg in here that actually add to and bring out some of the spices in this dish.
This Chardonnay has luxurious aromas of lemon zest, vanilla, apple, white pepper, and nutmeg. On the palate, it's full-bodied with bright acidity and a long, crisp finish.
Next, we have a Sonoma County Merlot.
Our Merlot features rich aromas of ripe cherry and hints of violet. It has a hint of earthiness and minerality on the finish.
And lastly, a Russian River Syrah.
With a dense core of dark fruit flavors of plum, this Syrah has notes of black pepper and finishes with touches of leather and chocolate.
Now, did you select a Chardonnay, a white wine, to go with the mashed potato topping, or?
It can blend with that, but those extra spicy white peppery notes actually adds to the flavors of the spices you chose in this dish as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to tasting it. Now, where can the audience get some of these fabulous wines or find out more about it?
All you have to do is click on the bottle. Click on the bottle and you'll be sent to a link where you can get more information, and better yet, try the wine for yourself and try it with friends, because what's more fun watching wine on TV than drinking it yourself?
That's right. And I love technology. Is that the neatest thing? You just click and then you are taken to some place where you can actually get something that you see on TV. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers, my dears. Thank you, Janet, for making this wonderful meal. And we'll go right on back to Chef Rowdy for another kitchen tip. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Chef Roddy, bringing you some tips from my kitchen to yours. A little bit about avocados today. Everybody likes a good guacamole or some avocado slices on your sandwich. How can we get those nice slices for on your sandwich? I have a couple of different ways we can show you. So a couple of things that you want to know about picking an avocado. Typically when you find avocados in the supermarket, you're going to need to bring them home about a week before you need them in order to be able to ripen them. But the way that you can look at how ripe they are is by what it's growing off of. So there's a little stem in there, and if you pop it out and look at the color of it, if it pops out easily, it's going to be more ripe. If it's tough to pull out and it's firm on the outside, it's going to let you know that it's not quite ripe and it needs a little bit more time. So the darker the spot is where you pull the stem from is going to give you an indication of the degree of ripeness. So the darker, the more ripe, the more green or yellow, less ripe. So using the avocado, obviously pre-wash all your produce. We need to get through the pit. Don't peel it with a peeler. What I'm going to do is take my chef's knife and go right around it, right around the pit, that nice stone inside, and then spin. Now I've got two halves, nice and ripe, it's got good color. While I have my knife in my hand, I want to get the stone out of there. I want to get the pit. Very safely, if you want to be even more careful, you can put it on your cutting board, pop your knife right into that pit, and twist. Typically, it's going to pop right out, and then there you go. You have it right there, and now you have the outside. Don't get rid of the pit, because we can use that to help to maintain the freshness of your avocado, because the pit helps to keep it fresh from oxidizing. Things that oxidize also are bananas and apples. You know how they turn brown. So same thing happens with an avocado. So in the restaurant, I'm going to take this in my hand and score down through it to make my slices. At home, if you want to be safe, you can keep it on your cutting board and make your cuts down through the center, going right to the skin, but not through the skin. Keeping yourself safe, make those scores all the way down. With me, I have a nice feel because I can feel right when that blade's at the skin, so it usually works a little bit better in my hand. But then after it's sliced, now you can take it and scoop it out And you can see already how I'm getting that nice little fan effect, and I have my slices ready to go. You can even put it right back in, do the same thing to both halves, put the pit inside of it and close it up. Now it's ready for you to make your sandwiches later. Just to show you, you can then lay it out and give yourself a nice little fan, and you have your nice slices to put onto your sandwich. There's a couple more tips from my kitchen to yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us on Family Tree Recipe. I'm your host, Kathy Garver. See you next time.
Thanks a lot.
If you would like to host a wine tasting party featuring one of your own family recipes, get back to the person who sent you this show or click now for more information.